Welcome to another edition of Inside Career Technical Education, and Happy New Year!
Happy New Year
Happy
to you as
New
well.
Year! 2023 is here. Boy, it's sure kind of went by fast, but yet in some ways it went by slowly. So anyway, I'm Baldwin, Jim Bologa, President and CEO of YTI Career Institute and Porter and Chester Institute. And we thought it'd be fun to just talk about what people can think about in the new year. What are your New Year's resolutions? What are mine? This is always an opportunity to kind of recreate yourself, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
What are you going to do? How are you going to recreate yourself?
Well, I think for myself and for the schools, I think one of the hardest things for all of us to do in life is communicate well. Communicate clearly, communicate well. I think that's something that's a lifelong learning goal of mine, is how can I get better at communicating things to people,
right.
So that I can create that visual picture for them. And again, I think for a lot of us, I think part of communication is trying to get information out relevant information out there for people to use in their everyday lives.
And to motivate people, right? I mean, COVID was and is still here. And unfortunately, it's really, I think, had kind of a detriment on society in some ways. There's been, some bad things. But I also look at, like with the programs at YTI and PCI, it's also been an opportunity for so many people who might have been in an industry that was downsized or went bankrupt to kind of recreate themselves.
Oh, sure.
And it's never too late. That's one of the things that I always say. It's never too late to learn something new.
Yeah, no, I think for all of us, you almost have to pinch yourself a little bit, right? In that, there you go. You have to pinch yourself, because I think some folks, may have, more of a closed mindset where they don't feel like they can learn something new. And what I find really exciting is when I walk through our campuses and our schools, is, I just really enjoy meeting, an 18-year-old student as well as meeting a 50 or 60 or 70-year-old student.
Right.
And I'm always really impressed at how the 18-year-olds and the 50, 60, 70-year-old students work together,
Right.
and they all come at it regardless of age. Age is left at the door, but they all come at it as students.
And with such a passion, too.
Yeah.
And that's what I love, too, Jim. We've had so many stories that we've told on these podcasts. And if you haven't seen those stories, you really should go to the website and go back into our archives and see what interests you. But I want to just touch on one example. So we had I recently met a 37-year-old man who graduated from your Chicopee campus.
Right.
In HVACR, which is
heating,
air conditioning,
ventilation,
and refrigeration.
There you go.
So this guy was a dairy manager. He's got twins and two other kids, 34 years old. I think I said 36, 34. And he's watching all these repair people come in and what they're doing, and talking to them and seeing how successful they are while he's putting milk and yogurt and stuff on the shelves at Big Y. And he's like, you know what? It's time for a change, and I want to do this. So he kept his job at Big Y, and because of the flexibility of the program in Chicopee, he went there and got his certification, and now he's regional Big Y HVACR. So, you talk about success stories, and it doesn't take that long. It seems like it takes a long time sometimes, but it's just a short, when you think about it, it's just a little blip on the radar.
Oh, yeah. I think one of the things that I really, am very proud about and try to communicate this to anybody who will listen to me, is that again, when you look at our programs, most of our programs are 12 months or less.
Yep.
And and again, when you look at the return of your time
and investment
and your investment in your education, meaning the money that you have to pay, it's really to your point, really a blip. And you have right now, there are, I think all of the vocations and all the educational programs that we offer that lead to, employment, those programs all a really good return on your time and on your investment.
Right.
And because again, I think right now, whether you want to go into healthcare, whether you want to go into technology, whether you want to go into skilled trades, whether you want to go into automotive, whether you want to go into culinary or pastry. I mean, even some of these industries that have been impacted severely by COVID, they are coming back, and there is a need for folks. And and I would just encourage everybody, as you're making your New Year's resolutions for 2023. Think about education. I mean, education is something that stays with you forever. And one of the things that I've advocated to, again, anybody who would listen to me, is that our education is structured in a way where you get exposed to the theory, the underlying reasons, if you will, why things work the way they work, and then you get to go into our industry modeled labs and practically apply that.
Right.
And what's really great about that is as a student, I reflect on my own experiences, and I have learned the most when I've actually not really known how to do something and I make mistakes. And again, I think we provide that environment for folks to really have those aha moments.
Yeah.
When you sort of make a mistake and you're doing it in as a context as a student, in a controlled environment. And and again, I think that it's just it's a really great way to learn. And again, if you're interested in becoming an electrician or a plumber or a HVAC technician or a low voltage technician or an automotive technician or a practical nurse or a respiratory therapist or a veterinary technician, or a chef, a culinary chef or a pastry chef, a medical assistant, dental assistant, if you're interested in medical billing and coding or health information management.
There's so many different options. We could sit here all day and just go over the program.
I think we have like 26 programs.
Right.
And those lead to 26 different jobs,
Right.
if you will, and careers. And and I would say that one of the things that I encourage everybody is when you come to our programs, you leave with the knowledge, the understanding of how things work, but you also have the practical application of that theory, and you've learned how to bend a piece of conduit. You've learned how to change brakes. You've learned how to change oil. Whatever you've learned how to change a dressing.
Because it's hands-on. Each
exactly.
one of these things is hands-on.
Exactly, it's hands-on. Right. It's experiential learning, and and again, I think as we all come into a new year, we all have these resolutions, and I think education is one of the things that truly can separate folks in terms of helping them further improve their lives.
Right. And I just want to shift gears a little bit before we wrap things up, because there's another piece of this. And I want to mention, too, with all of these programs, from financial aid, to career services, you are guided through the whole process. Sure. There are real people there to help you, get the externships if your program requires that, to apply for the financial aid, the whole job thing at the end of this. So those people are there, and that's also a beautiful thing. You're not in this thing alone. But one other thing I want to talk about is maybe you're out there and you're working in a career in healthcare and you're burnt out. And there's also opportunities for you to become instructors in these programs. So that's where these kids learn. They learn from the real people in the real industries. And I've talked to so many of your instructors lately that, I was working in this field or that field and working long hours, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I want to give back, and now I want to teach my skill, my trade to the next generation. And how great is that?
Oh yeah, that's a great point. So for viewers and listeners who are listening to this, certainly, if you're a professional out in one of these fields, and you want to give back to the workforce, like for example, if you're a nurse and you're just you're sort of burnt out and you need to move into an environment that's a bit more controlled, and where you have a little bit more control over the environment plus over your day-to-day life, it's a great way to give back. And I think that I think all of us just have to remember that there was somebody before us that took us aside and helped
Helped
teach
us,
us.
yes.
And I would encourage folks that we do have. We do help onboard our new faculty, and they do go through some training. So again, I think a lot of folks are like, well, I don't really have any teaching experience, and what we're really after is we're after the industry experience,
Right.
and then we help you become an instructor. And again, I think for a lot of us, we can sort of remember what it was like to be a student, and
the instructor piece is so key.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
have such an impact. You have such an impact on the learning and the lives. So
well, the intrinsic value of being an instructor is huge, in my opinion, because I think it's one of the few vocations in society where you really can have a meaningful impact on somebody's life.
Yeah, how many people do you see, whether you're an NFL football player or whatever, I want to thank my teacher, I want to thank this instructor, my coach, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, all these opportunities available, so maybe you'll make it part of your New Year plan as we enter 2023, hard to believe. And we encourage you for information on any of the things that we talked about. If you're curious, and hopefully you are, that you go to the websites, which are yti.edu or PorterChester.edu, and just look at your options. Why not?
Yeah.
Well, Happy New Year, Jim.
Happy New Year to you, Ann.
And Happy New Year to all of you. And thank you for tuning in to this edition of Inside Career Technical Education.